If you are looking for ways to improve your financial situation this summer, you may feel overwhelmed by the options. So what's the advantage getting help from a smaller portfolio manager instead of a bigger company? We're joined now by Peter Sashecki from Everything Financial. Good morning, Peter. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Okay, so a lot of people look at different ways that they can manage their money. How do people go about figuring out what is the best option for them?
Well, first off, we talk about the portfolio management companies all the time. So that's step one. You're getting out of the big world of the big banks, the big mutual fund companies, and you're going to the portfolio management companies where they're a fiduciary. They have to always do what's in your best interest, and all their fees are disclosed. There's no embedded fees. So you've made step one, you've crossed the street over from the dark side, and you're going to the portfolio management company. Now, how do you choose from the portfolio management companies?
Okay, so what are people to look for? Are there limitations for big investment companies when it comes to how they invest in a small company?
Yeah, and that's really, you've got to ask them. When they talk about we're the biggest, or we're worth I'm just using a number, $100 billion, or we're worth this, we're worth that, then you're basically dealing with a mutual fund company and portfolio manager clothing. Boutique portfolio management companies can do very good because they don't miss out on the little investments that the big guys may miss out on.
Why would they miss out on those?
Well, and I hate math in the morning, but we do it all the time. So you have this massive portfolio management company, and they want to never own, let's say, in an example, more than 4 or 5% of a company. But that smaller, what they call small cap, smaller Canadian company, their 4 or 5% of a portfolio might be 50% ownership of the company. They don't want that much ownership of one company. They don't want that much stake in one company. So what do? They leave it by the wayside. And that lets the smaller boutique firms, and the smaller boutique firms, Carrie, doesn't mean less information or less expertise. They're still hiring the best analysts with the most knowledge. They're just looking for what we call the low-hanging fruit. They're looking for a lot of the companies, the up-and-comers, that the other ones ignore because they're just not big enough for them.
The low-hanging fruit, you call it. These are companies that are there, but the big investment firms don't go to? That's
right. They don't go to because, again, 5% of your XYZ portfolio might be 45, 50% of that entire company. Well, they're not going to buy up an entire company when they hold 3, 4, 5, 600 holdings in a portfolio. They're not going to own an entire company and buy it out. They just want to buy pieces of companies. And some of those companies are just too small for them to look at, so they leave them. But some of those companies, and look through COVID, there's some examples of many of them, the returns, and they're still giving those returns today, are incredible. The small companies, Carrie, aren't missing out on the Royal Banks and the Manulifes and the CIBCs and the TD. They're not missing out on things like that, but they're also able to buy the little up-and-coming companies that end up one day being the big companies,
right,
before anyone knows about them.
Okay, so if you have made the shift from a big company to a smaller portfolio management, what kind of conversations should you be having then?
I mean, just ask that about what type of companies they're buying, how big are they, how easy is it for them to transition a portfolio? Those are the questions you want to ask. Ask them how much they trade. Ask them the type of companies they're buying. The nice thing about when you're dealing with a smaller portfolio management company, and some of the big ones probably have this too, but I know for sure the smaller ones do, you can talk directly to the people. A person, yes. No, but you can talk to not just a person. You can talk to the manager who runs the whole portfolio. They have the time for you, and they will say, well, this is our thought. We like this company because of this. We like this company because of this. And they can transition easier because they own smaller pieces. They can sell stuff off and move to another company where the big companies can't always sell off those pieces.
Nice to be able to have those conversations. And thanks for joining us this morning to give us something to think about. Peter Sashecki, Everything Financial. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Carrie.
Good to see you.